my 280mm Corsair Aio. Now, I got this refurbished. I think I was able to save about 20 bucks maybe. I don't remember. But I know I did save a little bit. So. And the only thing bothering me so far is that I have not been able to see a manual with this. It's a set of power. I believe this goes onto the motherboard. And I don't really know what this fourth one is for, but we'll figure it out. Okay. I believe this is the socket AM4, and what's pre-installed. I really wish they would have included some instructions or some sort of a manual. There's nothing. And so for a first time builder, it may be a little bit daunting. Okay. So since this is going to be facing on the inside and I'm placing this in a push configuration, I'm going to look at the this. Is there a direction somewhere? Oh, yeah. There's that little arrow. Right there. I don't know if you're able to see it. Yeah. It's right here. Okay. So I don't know if I was supposed to put a washer. Yeah, I believe I'm supposed to put a washer. So I'm going to stop this recording and make sure I have a washer and all the others that I've done, and then I'll come back. Okay, since I'm going to be working with a socket AM4, I need to change out this bracket. Just hope I don't destroy the pre-applied paste. Maybe I should do this later, because I don't think that will fit over this. Okay, yeah. think I'm going to install it into the case and then change that bracket out to the AM4. Okay, I think this will allow you guys to see what I'm doing a little better. You know, now that I've been installing this for a while, I feel like maybe an air cooler would have been easier to install up front. This is a little bit complicated, and I am not enjoying it. Can go ahead and tighten the rest, and then I'll see you on the other side, because then we're gonna have to deal with the heatsink and the pump. So I'm gonna finish this up and show you how I install it onto the CPU. Okay, I guess you just pop that one out. And give that a twist and that pops in. Now, I do not really like this. Aio. It is way too cumbersome, and I feel like it has way too many wires coming off of it. So anyways, it's what I have right now, so I'm going to have to use it. I think. Okay, so I finally got this installed. So unfortunately, the USB 2.0 port is all the way to the other side of the board. I believe that's it. I don't see any USB 2.0s on this side of the board, and so that's going to be a challenge. And that's for the RGB control. Okay. I might just need an extension for this. So we'll see. Okay guys, so like I said before, I am not a big fan of this cooler, and after putting everything in, I'm trying to connect stuff up, and essentially this cooler on this side down there has 3 cables coming out of it. One is the SATA power, the other goes into the AIO pump dedicated headers out there. A third goes behind, it's this ribbon cable right here, and that's essentially for connecting up the 2 fans for the radiator. And then it has a separate cable through a micro USB port out here, and essentially that I'm going to have to route up through this, bring it down the back, and then here, let's see if I can bring it out the bottom side and plug it into one of the 2 USB 2.0 headers down there. So essentially I might even abandon that, but then I'll lose all RGB control, I believe. I might just have to live with it. I don't care about RGB. My memory is not RGB. That's not what this build is about. I'd rather it be a clean build. All these wires and things hanging out all over the place are going to slow down air velocity. I don't know if it's going to have a huge impact on temperature. I'm not doing any overclocking, so it might not even have any effect. Anyways, the second point I wanted to bring up was this. So this is the XFX 5700 XT card, and it is absolutely massive, so make sure your rig is able to accept it. 2 things that I uncovered. One I uncovered yesterday is that the chipset fan, which is right there, gets completely covered up. I'm sorry about the bad lighting. Let me see if I can tilt this a little bit so you can see. Yeah, there's the chipset fan. It gets completely covered up by the video card. Secondly, if you need to use any of the SATA headers which are up there, you can only see one of them right now. They also get completely covered up, so I would suggest you plan this out and make your SATA connections before mounting the video card. Now, I do have other SATA connectors down here, so it's not a big deal. I can always use them, and fortunately for this build I don't have to use any because I have my NVMe on board, the M.2, and I have these inbuilt SATA power and data ports on my hard disk drive bays, which the Air 540 provides, and they're easily swappable, so you just yank these out. So I don't really have a need for any of these connectors, and essentially my build would have been completely clean except for the plethora of cables coming off this cooler. I should have just paid a little bit more money and purchased something with not as many headers coming off of it, or essentially something that would go to an RGB header on instead of a USB 2.0. So anyone who's thinking of designing a new rig right now, keep some of those things in mind, especially with this XFX 570 with the triple cooling fans. Okay, I'm gonna start connecting the front panel connectors. I will start off with the audio connector here, and that's where the headers are. So this is the audio connector from the front panel, and I will be connecting that into this header right here. So the audio header is in. Now let's move to this side of the motherboard. There's a whole bunch of pins down here. These are all of your power, the various LED power pins. So I'm going to take care of them next. Here's the system panel all connected. This did take me some time. So on the bottom left is the hard disk drive LED. On top of that are the positive to the left and the negative power connector. Right next to it on the top is the power switch, and then on the bottom is the reset switch. These are all 2-pin connectors except for the power, they were single pins. And I use my manual. This I believe is page, it's section 113, and I pretty much use this diagram to help me. Now that this is done, I'm going to route this fan cable and the top fan cable through those grommets, and I'm going to bring it out from this panel, and I have a connector right there under the into it right here, and then there's another connector right there. That's for the chassis fans. So those will be my 2 intake fans, and then the exhaust fan I will be routing under, and there is another fan connector up top, and that's where I will go. The one to the left is for the CPU, but that's all being controlled by the AIO, so that's where it'll go. Once those are connected, I will then put in the power supply and try to boot it up. Then is the front panel. USB connector. There's a notch on one side on the top. and that goes into the notch right there. So I'm going to make that connection next.